Hey, everybody.
Good evening.
Good
Hey there.
evening. I see Bob. I see Michael. I know Scott is trying to get in via phone, and Mare texted she was going to be a little late. Um, so let's wait a few minutes to see if Scott can call in. He was going to call. Oh, there he is.
Hey Beth, it's Scott.
Hey, I'm glad you were able to call in.
Yeah, the meeting, thanks for sending the meeting ID and password. It used to be in the agenda, but I didn't see it this time.
Well, good. You figured it out.
I think Mateo sent it, so thanks,
Thank
Mateo.
you. Thanks, Nina. Bye.
Thanks, Mateo. All right. So now there's four of us here. Mare's gonna come when I think she's gonna be a little bit late, but she will be here. But it's 7:02 on June 25th. So I'm calling this meeting of the Conservation Commission to order, and this meeting's being recorded. Welcome, everybody. First on our agenda is comments from the chair, and I don't really have much. I think this is going to be a pretty short meeting. I think there's not a lot on the agenda, and there hasn't really been anything too exciting going on that I can comment on, which is good. All right, so moving on, next on our agenda is to review and vote on the minutes from June 11th. Did anybody have any changes or questions or comments on those? No, seeing none, I take a motion to approve the minutes of June 11th, 2026.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve those minutes.
Okay, second,
Seconded.
great. All right. Roll call, Douglas,
Aye.
McDuffie,
Aye.
Khan,
I
and Wilson. Aye. Great. Next is site visits. Mayor's not here, but I also don't think we had any since our last meeting. Except just the meeting was just 2 weeks ago, and I don't think we had any special site visits or anything. So that was good. We're still trying to set up the one for the land that abuts the elementary school. I'm not quite sure. Mateo, have you heard anything else about that site visit?
I have not, I did not get a response to the initial follow-up when we did not get the confirmation. So I can follow up with them again, but we need the permission to do a site visit.
Yeah, it's been strange. There's seemed to be two different people that you've been communicating with, and it's just been kind of strange. But yeah, if you wouldn't mind reaching out one more time,
Yep.
that would be great. All right. Moving on, we have land management update. Scott, do you have some information?
I don't have much. I guess maybe more of a question for Mateo, just to get the latest. I know we opened the bids at the last meeting. We contacted both the winning bidder and the folks who weren't successful. Is everything in order? And we have we heard anything in terms of a start date for contractor itself?
So,
Mateo, go
so
ahead.
Terramore sent back the executed contract or executed on their end. I think yesterday or the day before. So once we get it, Haley will sign it, and then it will be finalized, and they can start work at that point.
Great.
Great.
So, is the plan, would you, Madam Chair, do you want me to reach out to Terramore or maybe Mateo to reach out to them once Haley signs the contract to let them know they can begin, or how do we want to proceed with that?
I think, Scott, if you want to, yeah, once they're contracted and everything, if you want to reach out to them about a starting date and maybe explain to them that we did the delineation, just kind of get them up to speed as to where we were with the other contractor before they left. And just get an idea from them what where they'd like to start.
Tons of strawberries.
Yeah. Perfect. I'd be happy to do that. Just
So,
maybe, Mateo, once you hear back from Haley, or once it's signed and executed and we're ready to drop the puck, let me know and I'll reach out to Terramore and get it going.
Perfect. Sounds great. And did you have an update on the conservation land regulations? Did those go to the town attorney? Scott?
I believe Mateo sent them to Donna, right, and to the chief of police, and I don't know if we've heard back yet.
Yeah, so both Chief Pelletier and Donna have received them draft, and I've not received any comments back from them. I know that it's probably not going to be till early July that I get a response from them. But they did receive them, and they confirmed receiving them.
Great. Great. Good that all those things are moving forward. I love it. And I was just thinking, I haven't heard much about the Footit property. We got the CPA money. And what we were really waiting on then is really for Kestrel to purchase both the large parcel and the parcel that we are going to buy from Kestrel. So I guess that's kind of what's happening this summer. And then what Kestrel had sort of said was that then in the fall would be the time where we would go through the process of buying the land from Kestrel. So yeah, I haven't heard much else about that. I think I actually got an email. There was a site visit and there was some question about the well. I need to look into that a little bit, but all right. 7:09. So we can't move ahead quite yet with our 7:15. Yeah, I don't really have anything else. Bob, are you all set doing all the paperwork to get onto the new fancy version of LWAC?
I'm lagging behind. I did show up to get sworn at, and I was late, so I still have to go through that process. The other group, the uh, erosion group, is meeting at the same time as this one tonight, unfortunately. But I will get an update from them, and I'll present that at the next meeting.
Yeah, that would be great. I think we'd all be interested. So GZA
That's
has
right.
put together, is it a draft of their report or is it the final report?
Yeah, I think it's a draft conclusions, and I'll have more insights for you the next time I talk to you.
Okay, that'd be great. Perfect. Yeah, this is my time to renew my term on the Conservation Commission. It's a 3-year term. And so I also have to go get sworn at. And I haven't found the time to go do that yet, but I need to do that too. And Scott, you probably need to do it for CPA, or maybe you've already
I
done it.
do. No, I haven't. I just got the notification earlier this week, so I did just do that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I don't have anything else. I guess for a few minutes I can talk about, if you guys remember the culvert assessment project, that the 5-town culvert assessment project. I don't know if Michael might not know about this one. It was a grant that Pioneer Valley Planning Commission sort of organized, but they pulled in people from 5 different towns. So Amherst, Shutesbury, Pelham, Belchertown, Hadley, I guess, and that's the 5 towns. I hope that's 5. And we submitted a grant, Pioneer Valley, they did most of the work, but to MVP to do culvert assessments under the NAC, which is the North Atlantic Aquatic Conductivity Coalition or something. And it used to be half the country. I think it's actually going to go national now, but it's sort of a method for assessing culverts, not only for like structural integrity of the culvert, but almost more for wildlife and fish passage. So when you're replacing a culvert, how should you design it that's best for wildlife and fish passage, but also for flood resiliency, having to do with climate change and all that. So there's this method. And so the grant was get some money, get a bunch of interns to go out and look at culverts in all those towns, and follow that method of evaluating the culverts, and then update it to the NAC database. So that then what it does is it provides towns like a ranking of which culverts are the most important ones to work to get grants to replace, because they've been ranked by NAC as being in the worst situation. So I know the interns are out there right now. I think they've finished Amherst. They've moved on to Hadley. Shutesbury actually was partially done by FERCog previously, under a different project, and I believe under this project, all that's happening is some finalizing of culverts that had gotten this and making sure everything gets into the NAC database. So after they do Hadley, I believe is Pelham and Shutesbury will be done with that. And there's public outreach involved with it, and I actually need to organize something for Shutesbury, some kind of, if anybody has any ideas of places where you can do a table and talk about stormwater, kind of, Bob, sort of like what you guys did for the erosion task force. But in Shutesbury, it's difficult because we don't have a farmer's market or some place where people would gather and would see that kind of thing. So I don't know.
The new library's like community space is pretty big.
Yeah, we could do just like another kind of talk, just to send flyers and have people come and do a talk about culverts. That's
Oh,
an
I
idea.
see. Like if they're already gathering there, you wanted to catch them. I see.
Yeah, I wanted to have like a table, at some kind of an event, and Amherst has lots of that kind of stuff going on, so it's a little easier, but Shutesbury is not. So I don't know. We'll see. Mateo, you have your hand up?
There's likely to be a special town meeting in September. I don't know if that's too late, but there
Oh,
might with that. It might be good to have a handout or information.
yeah, no, that's good to know. It's a 2-year grant. The first year is ending June 30th. So in the next few days is the first year. And so then the second year, so there still will be going on in September. Okay. Anyway, just update you on that. And it's 7:15, so we can move on. So this is the continuance of a public hearing for a notice of intent for reconstruction of a single-family home and septic system with associated site improvements, portions of which are located within the buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands at 36 South Laurel Drive, parcels A41 and A50. And I see Rob, and I just want to make sure everybody we did get updated information sent to us, which was very helpful. I just want to make sure everybody saw that. It was sent around and was put on the web page and everything. And so, Rob, I think maybe if you could just talk a little bit about those changes and additions, that would be great.
Sure. I'm going to send a request to share my screen if that's okay.
Yep.
Great.
Good, yeah.
Share
Good.
that. All right. So just let me know if you can see this. Good?
Yep.
Okay, great. So again, for the record, Rob Levesque from our Levesque Associates. Here with us this evening on Zoom is the Gripco family. So I think they're in the background if we should have any questions for them. To bring everybody up to speed, there were some really good comments from the commissioners. Specifically, I think it was Bob had mentioned a concern about who would need to be a party to the notice of intent at the last public hearing. There was also some good comments from the neighbor about how we had directed some of the drainage from behind the retaining wall, and then a few other, I think, housekeeping items that we needed to address. So what I've done is I've provided a revised plan, which you see before you. I'll zoom in a little bit so you guys can see it better if I can figure out where there is zoom. Let's go 150. Oop, too much. Let's go 125. Let's not do that. Let's go 100. Eventually I'll get there. How about 70? Yeah, 75 seems to work. So just to kind of orient everyone, there was a question about the drainage from behind the retaining wall that goes into these plunge pools. So what we did is we rerouted that. Originally, I think it was going to the land of Mr. Tom Seifert. So at his request, which was a logical one, we just kind of redirected it. We don't expect heavy flow, but again, just perception is also everything too. So we're just kind of directing it to this plunge pool, and it would sheet flow towards South Laurel Drive. In addition, to try to, and I put a letter together to this effect, because of the abutter notification issue related to South Laurel Drive, and to make sure that we had a defensible, filing. What we did is I researched actually the exemptions, and we believe that as long as we didn't have new grading and new work associated with the access to the existing house, if it was more of a maintenance activity and just repair and kind of ongoing normal activities, it would be exempt. So under my letter that was dated June 22nd, I detail what I believe to be an exemption related to the driveways and other activities. Just if it's okay with the commission, I'll just read this real quick. This is one part. So under 310 CMR 10.02.2B.2Q, there's an exemption for maintenance, repair, and replacement of existing structures, facilities, and improvements associated with an existing single-family residence. So we kind of are relying on that as it relates to I'll go back to the plan, to the minor driveway improvements. You'll notice that I removed any sort of grading activities. We can kind of go with the existing grade. And then I've pushed, or maybe pulled is the word, pulled the rain gardens back into the property a little bit to basically accommodate having all of the non-exempt work within the limit of work on the subject property, thereby hopefully negating the need for notifying every abutter this side of the Mississippi. And then we have also provided, and I'll find it here, an O&M as requested, kind of just a basic O&M related to the plunge pools / rain gardens. Owner responsibility, who is the owner, rain garden installation, a basic inspection schedule, maintenance activities associated therewith, and then just kind of some other, basic information and record keeping. I would be happy to answer any questions the commission has. I think we covered everything, but certainly any other questions you have, that's what we're here for. Thanks.
Yeah, my only question, when I printed out the plan, it was so small that I couldn't even, how deep are the rain gardens?
So they're about with the contour about a foot and a half, maybe more, maybe like foot and a half, 2 feet, depending on
Okay,
exactly where you are.
okay. And you feel like sort of the dimensions are the correct size for the flows of drainage that you're, it sounds like on the north side, you're not really expecting very much, but maybe on the south, you might be getting a little bit more
Yeah,
volume.
slightly more. And again, the rain gardens aren't overly scientifically, in terms of stormwater analysis. I would argue that they're more of a functional outlet than they are attenuation in any real capacity. So again, just providing anti-scouring and in a little most first flush stuff will be caught in those, and then sheet flow effectively over the land like the water would before. And again, as you had mentioned, anything from behind the wall we expect to be just a trickle at best, and then kind of on the south side there be a couple roof leaders picked up, and that will discharge on into the plunge pool that's a little bit bigger.
Mhm. Okay, yeah, and then as long as I guess your description of it, there's definitely kind of riprap and stuff by the where the water first comes out. Um, but the rest of the rain garden is really just sort of, it sounded like a soil that's for rain gardens. I'm just concerned if you get a lot of flow of some of that getting washed away, but as long as it has enough of a base of rock, and then you get some vegetation growing in there, even if you do get some good rains, it should survive, right?
Yeah, it's anti-scour. Yeah, we'll ensure that there won't be any sort of migration of stone, or these would be the stone used could will be angular and can withstand any sort of scouring that we would expect from a typical roof leader, or any sort of sheet flow that we would expect. Again, minor amount of area going to it, which is good, and permeable soils along the way. So we expect to, despite the little bit of the slope, we would expect pretty permeable soils as well.
Okay. All right. That's all I was a little bit curious about. Um, anyone else on the commission have any questions?
I'm sorry if this is just
Yeah,
my memory. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. This is Scott. I wanted to follow up on the septic system. I know we talked about the design for the septic system and whether or not any of the leaching field that could reach the wetland, and there was discussion of extending the barrier further around the septic system to protect the wetland. And I looked at the plan, but I couldn't see that adjustment had been made. But can you talk a little bit about that for me? Thank you.
Yeah, through the chair, absolutely. A good question. And yes, that was discussed. It's not shown on this plan because we would be, and I think the appropriate way to do it would be to just have it as a condition. And we could then update that impervious barrier for the Board of Health, just to make sure they're okay with it. And then we would handle it in an as-built plan to the Board of Health, just so they know. I mean, if anything, it's a belts and suspenders type of thing. But yeah, if that was a condition of the permit, that would probably be the best way to do it. We wanted to be accurate with what was approved, why we didn't show it on this plan. But yes, it was discussed, and we can easily do that, if that makes sense.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Bob, you have your hand up?
Sure. Rob, the last time we met, we talked about uh, any applicable permits that would be needed have been applied for, and it sounds like you've applied for the Board of Health sign off. Was there anything else required, like a curb cut or anything like that that might be considered a local permit?
So I haven't investigated the a driveway permit, so to speak, under our work, but there is existing access. We're essentially utilizing the existing access that's kind of our way around the butter notification for, a great deal of people that would be along the corridor of South Laurel Drive. As far as the other permits, we have communicated with the building department. We are in good stead with regard to the, zoning related matters. So we're all set there. And then we have also received Board of Health approval on the septic system.
Okay, great. Uh, Quick question. So the area that does exist, uh, remaining on the map that is strictly, as you noted in your letter, exempt, or sorry, yeah, exempt tasks. That rectangle, the piece of land that that's on is the South Laurel Drive right away.
That is correct. Yep. So just to orient you, and I'll try to, I don't know if I can call her on this thing. I don't know if this will, oh yeah. Okay. So let me just back up. So, so this line and this line are the right of way. So this is the right of way, kind of a legal area. And then the edge of pavement is here and here.
Okay.
See those lines.
In your opinion, Rob, the sandy soil and the rain gardens and everything else is sufficient for to keep the area from being blown out in a rainstorm. You know, got the additional pervious surface. Well, I guess we currently have a house a pervious surface, impervious surface. But but you don't think things will be blown off downstream? We can't do a stormwater analysis on this because it's a single unit, but you're comfortable that everything you put in will be able to handle the water during a storm event?
Yeah, we're comfortable. We're really where we want to make sure that there's no concern, and I think we all should be, thinking the same thing is um, during construction, we want to make sure that obviously all the silt fence is properly installed, and that everybody's comfortable that if there were something, a rain event during, when the ground is exposed or opened, so to speak, that the soil can't migrate. Once the home is constructed, everything is loamed and seeded, septic system installed, turf and other landscaping established. We feel very comfortable that the rain garden, coupled with the remaining buffer, which is essentially, the tree line would be here, will act as a pretty solid filter for any sheet flow that's kind of heading in that direction, kind of perpendicular to the contour. Again, there's obviously areas that will run this way, and then if the water comes off over here, it'll eventually head kind of more directly to the wetland. But there is a nice vegetated buffer, and with us eliminating some of the impacts on this side, actually, we're providing more of an existing vegetated filter buffer in this area from kind of here to here. So we've increased the buffer back by avoiding some of the work that we were proposing here.
Great. Good. Thank you very much for listening to our questions at the last meeting, and I appreciate the notification that was sent to us through the town hall.
Absolutely. Thank you. And thank you for the heads up on the thought process.
Yeah, I think this is at least your third or fourth meeting. I think with each meeting, the stormwater especially got more addressed, each time. And we do appreciate all the changes that you've made. And so at this point, are there any comments from the public? Oh, Tom?
Thanks. Pardon
Ooh,
that.
a little bit of feedback.
Is now a safe time to speak?
Now I don't hear feedback. I think that's
Oh,
better.
1 second. My volume isn't up here. I'm sorry. Can you just speak again so I can hear you?
Yep, you sounded okay that time.
Perfect. Okay, great. Sorry. Everything's in order now. Okay. I had several questions that go in a few different directions, please, Madam Chair. It appears as though this new NOI revised one and whatnot went up yesterday on the Conservation Commission website. Is there any concern about a 48-hour notice period for the public to have had a chance to look at these before tonight's session?
With updates and things, there's no requirement for the 48-hour notification. You know, that's agendas that absolutely have to be with the topics that are going to be discussed at a meeting. Those require 48-hour posting. You know, updates of information don't necessarily require that. So I feel like, you know, this wasn't a huge real change to everything in my opinion. And I feel like everybody has been coming to the meetings and asking questions at the meetings and getting a lot of information at the meeting. So no, I'm not concerned about that.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for letting me ask as well. I don't know when to ask, but I wanted to get more, please, of an explanation about the exemption, specifically whether it's an exemption for roads or ways. I'm not quite sure about the exemption that they mentioned, please. Restart there, maybe.
Sure. If I could share my screen. So Rob, could you
Oh, yeah.
stop sharing?
Right here. How do I get out of here? Sorry, just 1 second. Stop share. How's that?
Good. All right, let's see if I can bring up. I thought maybe folks would be wondering. I think it's this. All right, can folks see my screen?
Yep.
So this is the Wetlands Protection Act regulations. So these are the state regulations, and this is the buffer zone section. So this is activities within buffer zone. So these are what are considered minor activities within the buffer zone that are allowed within the buffer zone under the state regulations. And Rob was referring to Q, which is down, which actually I was reading it. It reads a little bit differently than what Rob had in his letter, but it refers to driveways. What it says is the repair or replacement of an existing and lawfully located driveway servicing not more than 2 dwelling units, provided that all work remains within the existing limits of the driveway and all surfaces are permanently stabilized within 14 days of final grade. So this is basically saying any driveway that has been considered a driveway, and you know has the legal use as a driveway, which I believe this does. They've been using it as a driveway. That work, even if it's in the buffer zone, if it's in the buffer zone, it is allowed under the Wetlands Protection Act.
The case if it's on land that they don't own, such as the South Laurel Drive.
Yes, I mean that falls to driveway easements and the legal use to use something as a driveway. And I think as the GRIBCOs have stated, and you know, this was a driveway. It's historically been a driveway that went to the house that's there right now. So it's legally a driveway, is how I understand it.
There's no driveway currently in the road, and this would include a driveway in the road that I'm aware of. And I don't know where there is a current driveway. The map where I would imagine there might be one in terms of where there appears to be. Well, where they've, for example, brought vehicles in for some tree work on the property. Doesn't appear to be where the driveway is on the map on this NOI revision. It appears to be a new spot.
Well, I'm and Rob or the Gribcos can
The
respond
driveway
to this.
that I understand to be existing, in other words, is on the southernmost edge of the lot, if there is one. I'm not even sure that there is an existing one.
Well, I can stop sharing, and I think the Gribcos or Rob should respond in sort of explaining what kind of a access is legally set up for that property.
Yeah, I mean, there's an obviously, no one's been helicoptered into the site lately. Usually people drive in and out, and accessing the house. This is just for everybody's, let me see if I can do this again. I'm not sharing, I just realized. Sorry. But essentially, if I can share, here we go. Sorry, guys. Oh, 1 second. Okay, so I'm sharing again. So this is the existing structure, right? So people pull in from South Laurel Drive. DEP in general, and under the exempt activities, people are allowed to maintain the access to a single family home. That's the bottom line. So DEP, as long as you don't go crazy and don't start creating a lot of new disturbance, they don't really want to hear or see a filing typically for something that is just the maintenance of an existing driveway to a right of way. So this is obviously the right of way. It also, frankly, is in the right of way. So while the driveway on the property is a driveway, arguably this is access from the roadway. It is, in my opinion, a driveway as well. But this, as the Gribcos had mentioned, and as you can see from the actual physical location of South Laurel Drive, I'm sure from year to year and decade to decade, South Laurel Drive, might shift a little bit here and there based on the travel paths. But this is the access to the single family home, and that can be maintained as necessary, which would mean, handling, nuisance vegetation that might have popped up since the house hasn't been, aggressively utilized, so to speak. So, so this is the proposal is to basically get to the lot as they have in the past. And then, on site, the driveway is not an exempt activity, and we have filed for that.
The existing driveway that I'm aware of is on the southern edge of the property. That's where the most recent vehicle activities have accessed the property.
We have trees. We have some pretty.
Where you have it illustrated, there's no, like the trees are too big for access. There are very much on the southern edge of the property is where people have been entering it. But so I'm just not aware of an existing driveway. And it appears the exemption you quoted is about existing driveways.
Well, so if you look at the language of my language is not only related to driveways, there's other exempt activities related to work and right of ways, etc. So, I mean, it's definitely an exempt activity in our mind.
In your mind, but have you had that determined?
Determined in what way? It would be determined by the Conservation Commission. So we have the burden of proof is on the applicant, and the Conservation Commission reviews that information and they make their determination. So I have not determined anything, and that's not
driveways. Driveways are in the zoning bylaw. All regulations or items about driveways that I'm aware of.
That's an independent. That's a different silo from a permitting standpoint. That would be
right, but I understand this. I know I would require local permitting to be at least begun, if not satisfied, for zoning as well. And so this driveway question,
I think we're confusing the issue. So we're here just for the notice of intent tonight. If there's other permitting related to zoning or any of that matter, that, like I said, there's an existing driveway here. So I just think sticking to the subject matter would,
would there be tree cutting in the road?
No.
No tree cutting.
So that's no. Can I just break in and just say that I think there's some confusion. Tom seems to think that the existing driveway is south of where it is on this plan, but I think looking at this, there's existing vegetation right now that's south of where you're showing the access. So where you're showing the access is the cleared area where people are driving right now, and south of it is
Actually,
a whole lot of
excuse me,
trees.
Madam Chair, but at the extreme southern edge of the property, there is width, and it is historically been most recently where vehicles have accessed. But separately from that, please, would there be tree cutting in any portion of South Laurel Drive?
Tree cutting, so there, if you can see where we have all the trees located. So the trees in South Laurel Drive, there's one tree, as far as vista pruning and what other, activities they would like to do. Right now, we're proposing that just the access comes between the trees. There's one tree here, looks like a 12-inch caliper tree. But the driveway can easily go around that. If the commission wanted to condition that, that wouldn't, be necessarily an issue.
Just wondered if there was any vegetation or alterations in this buffer zone area that's indicated as South Laurel Drive. And I'm still confused about why the owner of that land wouldn't need to apply as well for any alteration at all, even the change of surface. I'm concerned also if the highway department hasn't been consulted since there's service and emergency vehicle access to think of.
Again, this is a conservation filing at this point.
Okay. And the 8-foot strip of land, are you considering that separately? That's on the western boundary that is not part of South Laurel Drive?
I'm not sure where we're talking, sorry.
It's not indicated on your diagram, but it's in the deed for the lot that includes the proposed house. And it was talked about at the last session at the continued hearing. But there's an 8-foot strip of land that runs along the western boundary of lot 841. That is not conveyed to the owner in the deed, but it's not South Laurel Drive either.
I'm just going off a survey conducted by Eaton Associates, Randy Iser, PLS. Our activities are all proposed within the limit of the boundaries as defined by Eaton Associates.
Right. Well, maybe the owner wants to speak to that. It was mentioned at the last meeting and it is in their deed. I wanted to know how that was being addressed, please.
Possibly the Gribcos can respond to that. Maybe.
Yes. That 8-foot strip, that 8-foot strip has enlarged considerably actually over the years because South Laurel Drive is actually now partially over the property of 35 South Laurel Drive. The drive has shifted west. But the 8-foot strip is owned by the same people who own A150, and we have written permission from them to do whatever we need to do over the 8-foot strip. Plus, we have a deeded right-of-way over the 8-foot strip. And just to be clear about the driveway, we have spoken to the Aloisi family who owned A41 when they actually built the original house. And all of that area in the 8-foot strip, all the way down to where South Laurel Drive was at that point, was cleared. So the vegetation that has grown there has grown over the 40 years that Ted Hodgen has owned that property. He has kept the electricity on to the old house. It's never been disconnected. He started to do some renovations in the old house and then he didn't. And he's the one who has let the shrubs and all the small vegetation grow. And that really, a lot of it is some of it is dead. We've talked to Northeast Utilities because the wires actually go right through some of that vegetation. And there will be some clearing of the vegetation that's going to be where the driveway is now. You're correct, Tom, that the current driveway is further to the south of the property, but that's only because all the junk scrub has grown in on the rest of the part. Nobody's been, well, very few people have been going back and forth on the road, or the driveway. So putting the driveway, whether it's centrally located or whether it's off to one side, is simply a matter of maintaining where the driveway historically was at one point. Historically, that entire area in front of A41 was part of the driveway.
Right.
As any of the ownership, I thought that the question was whether the permission you had was sufficient regarding the questionable ownership.
It's a right of way. They don't need permission to cross a right of way to a house that's existing.
We have a deeded right of way across it, across the entire area.
And as far as from a jurisdictional standpoint, it's exempt regardless of the underlying fee interest.
And as far as the question about zoning and local permitting, Mr. Levesque said that they're in good step according to some sort of zoning authority. Has there been any sort of formal determination about that?
Yes.
Because, and when was that?
I don't have a date, but we submitted our plans to the building inspector or for the regional group, and it was determined that we're by right.
Was it? I have some communication from the zoning enforcement officer on June 22nd. Was it after that?
No, I believe it was well before that.
If you want, I can share an email with you, but he wrote me that regarding 36 South Laurel Drive, no zoning determination has been made.
So we had extensive conversation. I'm not sure which zoning person you're talking to, but
He's called the zoning enforcement officer. He included emails with you in his response. We're more all of the communications among people about this, and he made sure to point out to me, as he said he pointed out to you, that everything is provided to you is for informational purposes and does not constitute a binding opinion or determination.
Well,
no
building will be submitting a building permit, and then at that point we'll get a formal determination. But I don't know that anything that we've been told by the building inspector would change regardless of the status, but it's been made very clear to us. We have correspondence back and forth.
Here's it would need to go in front of the zoning board of appeals.
What's that?
The meeting is not about zoning or a permit to our house. This is a meeting from the Conservation Commission permitting us to put a septic where we want to put it.
Yeah, we have Board of Health approval. We have extensive conversations with the building department. Upon the issuance of an order of conditions, we would be in a position to submit a permit for a building construction, at which point the building inspector will let us know if they have any other further questions or concerns. But as far as our conversations to date, it's been made very clear that we do not require special relief under zoning.
Yeah, and so I think at this point, what we would do is it's clear that the applicant is making attempts to get the required local and state permits. And what we would do is include that as a condition in our conditions is that all state and local permits that are needed would be obtained, and work, cannot commence until those have been obtained. So if there is in the end some kind of a zoning thing that needs to be obtained, then they would have to do that under our order of conditions.
Okay, thanks. And my last question, please, had to do with the septic system. I believe it's 6 feet from the property line, or 6.5 feet from the property line. One, please, is that true? And if that's true, who would be liable for anything beyond that property line, like south of the property especially, where it looks most possible something might flow over? Would it be the property owner of that immediately abutting property? Would it be the Conservation Commission? Would it be the property owner? Please.
So with regard to the septic system, I'm not sure what dimension you're looking at, but I see the closest point to the property line, at least as I'm reading it, right here, 11.8 feet.
The southern boundary of the diagram, is that a portion of the septic system there?
I'm sorry. I see what you're talking about. That's the tank. Yeah, the
Yes,
septic.
exactly. That's where I meant, please.
Okay, yep. Yeah, so that is a location of a septic tank. So that's a solid tank, watertight. All the sewer line to that, and then the sewer line to the distribution box into the system is all watertight. And then the leach field is this rectangle here. So as far as liability goes, if there's a septic failure, it's the responsibility of the owner to reach out to somebody that is certified to deal with the septic, either repair or address whatever concerns come up. So that would be the liability of the owner. If there was a design flaw or a construction flaw, obviously they would have recourse against the designer or the contractor.
Would it be theoretically possible to move the portion that's less than 50 feet, or some of it anyway, to between the 50 and 100 foot area, kind of north of the existing material in the front of the house, and then perhaps move the well south?
Yeah, we already have approval from the Board of Health. They have a term, you've probably heard it. It's called maximum feasible compliance. So they look at all of the different criteria for the septic system design, well locations, proximity to property lines, proximity to structures. Obviously have to meet all of the groundwater separations from seasonal high groundwater. There's a number of factors that go into it. There's arguably countless hours that we, especially on a site, this is a tricky site. It's not the biggest property in the world. So we worked closely to make sure that we achieved maximum feasible compliance. And again, we do have approval of the septic system, so we have no intent or interest in going back because this is what was approved by the Board of Health as the maximum feasible option for the site from a septic standpoint.
Thanks. I guess I was hoping that like a true competent scientist helped determine that. It just appears that there's so much available area in the northern portion of the diagram. And I thought the Conservation Commission did have a certain amount of authority about when a septic system is in the 50-foot area to see. And I know that the Board of Health has its own authority too, but I guess I might even be beseeching the Conservation Commission whether they might have any advice. There's one sentence I read in the regulations about, I don't know if it's a competent scientist or a competent specialist who might be able to show that a septic system could be differently located in the best interests of the wetlands.
I think under the regulations, if a septic is approved by the Board of Health at Title V and it's within the 50, the Concom really doesn't have much say in terms of sort of the function of the septic system, meaning like, nitrogen releasing or anything. We have more say in, what we want to really look at is construction impacts, which to me, there's silt fence going up, there's erosion control going up. So I think during construction, I think we're going to be all right. I think at the first meeting we asked the same sort of questions about potentially being able to move the leach field into different spots. And even though it might look like there's a lot of room, if you look at the size of that leach field, I do really feel like that the Board of Health and probably the consultants and other people have really looked at trying to place it, as far away from the wetlands, but also it has to meet all these other requirements of Title V.
Mhm. I guess I was wondering what circumstances are those that would lead a conservation commission to engage a separate specialist to investigate something like that? Or is it only on people who would appeal or something? In the regulations, it appeared as though the conservation commission might have recourse to a specialist about some septic matters, even after an approved Title V design.
Why don't I can bring that up too? Hey, Rob, can you stop sharing?
Yep.
All right, so this is the section of our local bylaw regulations, wetlands. So this is the section on septic. So I think what Tom is referring to is, let's see,
9.
9, is it 3.2?
3.2, yes, please.
3.2, yeah. So if an applicant seeks authorization for new construction, expansion of the room within the 50 foot of the aura, and such a system receives approval from the Board of Health, the commission shall presume the design meets requirements for effluent impacts. And the commission shall only review construction impacts, which is what I had said. And I think you're referring to this last sentence. It says, however, this presumption of no adverse impact on the values may be overcome by credible evidence from a competent source that such a system does not protect the values.
Yes.
So yeah, I think that's what that's saying. If the commission really questioned the Board of Health's approval of the Title V, we could sort of question the what is it, the way that septic system deals with sewage, if we really questioned it, I guess. And one of the things that's been brought up in this meeting that Scott asked about was to actually increase where the this sort of permeable wall wraps around the septic, and we're going to, in our conditions, we're going to ask that it gets extended around. Right now it's just sort of on the western side heading towards the road, and we're going to extend it around the southern end to make sure that the leach field doesn't potentially have any kind of an impact on the wetlands themselves. So that was one thing that the commission asked for, to kind of just make it so that we trust that system is going to do what it needs to do. So personally, I feel comfortable with the current system, and the Board of Health has approved it, and it was designed all right. But I guess if other commissioners question it, then we do have the right to have the applicant actually pay to have a competent source sort of look at it again. That's what that's saying. So I will stop sharing. And I guess that's, just a question for the Concom, for the other commissioners too, if other people feel there's any issues that they see with that septic, any dangers to the wetland. So we are not really concerned about your other question where you're asking about if something happens to an abutting property. the Concom, that's not something we would be really assessing. We're strictly looking at that septic system and saying, could that have any impact on the wetland? Um, and I guess, like I said before, adding the extension of the impermeable wall that we asked for and will be in the conditions makes me feel perfectly safe with that septic system. But if other commissioners have concerns, feel free to speak up.
Can we ask that in the order of conditions that the septic be pumped every 2 years, or is that something that we can ask for?
So I could speak to that.
Okay.
So the tank itself, so it's certainly, I would highly recommend that these folks, depending on the usage, pump their tank just for the longevity of the septic. That said, the leach field will still be utilized when people are utilizing the system. So that's not necessarily going to change the effluent loading for the soil absorption system. If anything, typically that's removing solids. So when somebody would pump a tank, they're usually removing the solids from the tank, but the effluent there's a baffle in the tank itself. So it essentially separates solids from the liquids or the gray water, if that makes sense. So the gray water would still continue on to the soil absorption system based on usage. And again, this is, not to say it couldn't be used year round, but it'll likely get more usage, I'm guessing, in the summer, just being near the lake.
Or are you saying that when pumping the septic doesn't make a difference because it's really about the leach fields getting too much?
Well, I guess yes. Not that pumping the septic system, I'm sorry, septic tank doesn't matter, but typically you're pumping solids out of the septic tank.
Yeah.
If there was for some reason a tight tank, then that holds not only the solids but the effluent too. So in this case, the effluent will continue on regardless of the solids. So the effluent will still load into the soil absorption system. And that's why the impervious barrier is just a belts and suspenders approach, which, wrapping around that southern side certainly would, prevent any sort of, potential breakout of the system. There's a typical breakout distance before people or before Title V allows you to grade away. So it has to be flat for a certain distance. So we have that. And then the impervious barrier is just another safeguard to make sure that the effluent is just slowly leaching into the ground and not migrating somehow out of the side if somebody were to cut the slope or something.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Michael, you have your hand up?
If the group codes wanted to respond to that, I'll let them go first.
Linda, you have your hand up?
Yep, I do. Just for historical purposes, we've owned 35 for 33 years now, and we've had our septic tank pumped every other year.
Good idea. Good to do.
Yeah. Yep. Especially that close to the lake. That's good. Michael, did you want to comment on something?
I just wanted to ask the other commissioners if there's ever been any precedent for requesting some kind of testing years down the line, like to address our concerns, like if we want to test for nitrogen levels or something in the wetlands that neighbor the septic tank.
Yeah, not since I've been on the commission. No, I've never heard of testing downstream of septic systems. Ria, you have your hand up?
Hello. You could hear me, everybody?
Yes.
Great. I just wanted to say, I've been living here as long as the grip goes, and just going back to the driveway piece, I remember when there was I think college students living there in the house, and that whole area was like a driveway, that whole front lawn. So I don't really know what is a driveway or not, but it was all cleared. So that kind of seems like all systems go to me. I don't think it was like a little tiny 8-foot spot. I just remember there being some parties there, and it was just a big lawn for a big driveway as things happen. So just wanted to give that as a historical piece.
Great,
you.
thank you.
Oops.
Bob, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to reply to Michael. Septic systems do fail. There are breakouts, etc. Waste is detected in nearby waters, as are nutrient spikes occasionally. Often just simply due to the smell. But it's generally the Board of Health that handles that, and as well as the remediation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Frank, you have your hand up?
How you doing? Start video. Thank you very much. Hey, my husband and I we moved here 8 years ago. We've never lived in a beautiful place like this. I mean, this is amazing living here. I've never lived on a dirt road. I lived in Providence, Rhode Island, in the city. I used to walk to restaurants up the street. But this is an amazing thing. Our main concern here was basically the environment. You know, and the bottom line is the Gripcos are going to build a beautiful house behind us, and our property value is going to go up. And we really appreciate that. But that our main concern was the environment. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you. Yeah, that's our main concern too. I don't see any other hands up. All right, so at this point, I don't have any more questions. If any of the commissioners still have any concerns or questions, now's your chance. Also from the public too. And if I don't see any, then, oh, Mayor.
I just wanted to kind of go back to the first night that we were on this public hearing, in that the order of conditions, something to do with the roads and just making sure that it's in there. I know the grip probes will build. I'm sure they will make sure that the roads are maintained while this construction is going on. But I want to go back to that because on my side, on the west side, there's continual construction and the equipment does eat up the roads. And I just want to make sure that it doesn't change the runoff, and that whatever can be attributed to equipment is taken care of. So I again, that was my initial comment, and I just wanted to go back to that in some way. And I understand that I think Rob said at one point during maybe the second hearing or that that's not the responsibility of the Gripcos, but that's good neighbors. And, if they are willing to do it, I just want to make sure that that is done because it is very important to the runoff and what goes into the lake.
Thank you for reminding everybody of that. Linda, you have your hand up to respond?
Yeah, I just want to say that we actually have paid Dave, who does the plowing of the roads. We've paid him to correct the grade on parts of South Laurel Drive when the water has been threatening to go into the lake. It ends up now in our driveway. So, and we've brought gravel to fill in the ditches, which we haven't created, but we're very concerned about the road. We're very concerned about the entire area. We love it there as well. So I don't think it needs to be an order of condition. There are trash trucks that come down our road all summer long, spring, summer, and fall. They only stop in the winter. And they do a job on the roads, and we've done a fair amount to correct that. All I can say is, look at our history.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, seeing no more comments or questions, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
All right, second?
Second.
All right, roll call. McDuffie,
Aye.
Fox,
Aye.
Douglas,
Aye.
Khan,
Aye.
and Wilson, aye. All right, so the public hearing's closed. We need to put the order of conditions together, which is the actual permit. So at our next meeting, I'll put it together and I'll bring and present it to the commission for their sort of approval and whatnot. As the applicant and the consultant, you don't necessarily have to come because there really aren't going to be questions anymore. It's just us putting together the permit, but you're more than welcome to come. We'll have it on the agenda, but the public hearing itself is now closed. So we thank you for coming to lots of different meetings.
Thank you.
And yeah, and making changes to the plans and everything to make it a better application for the wetlands, I guess.
Thank you.
All right, and if our next meeting is my phone's at the 25th, just so you know. No, today's the 25th. It's July 9th would be our next meeting. So if you want to come back just to see the permit. And then after that night, it'll get approved and then we would be mailing it to you. So.
Great. Thank you for your time again. Appreciate all your efforts.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye. Thanks. All right. Next is just that we had discussing the regulations for conservation areas again on the agenda, but really at this point we've done our review, and as we talked about before, they've gone to town council and are being looked at. So we'll talk about them again after we hear back from town council. And then the last thing is unanticipated business. Does anybody have anything they want to share? No. Bob?
I would just really like Scott and the others to know that the project as far as improving the trailways is just a remarkable project, and thank you for everybody who took place in that. And we often do a lot of things, but we don't often take a bow, and really this has been an outstanding project from its beginning. We've got good people that are working on it, and honestly, I think that can't be overstated.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited about it. These are the fun things that we do. What we just did right now with 36 Laurel Drive, I don't find that fun really that much. Those projects are interesting, like they bring a plan forward and you're like, oh, look at that. They're going to build a house and where's the drainage going to go? And it's fun, but you end up having to be the regulator, which sometimes isn't fun, but taking care of conservation land and doing like trail work and stuff is really fun. I think it's going to be great. And Walker is really wonderful. He's the Terramore. I think it's going to be great working with him. That's the company that did the bog bridging and everything at Brightwater Bog.
Which is outstanding. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they did a phenomenal job. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's who we've got now as our contractor. So
cool.
So what work are we doing as Conservation Commission members? Because wasn't there parts that we were supposed to be participating in? Okay.
Yeah. We are on the hook to do the wetland delineation, which Beth referred to earlier. To have done part of that.
We did, yeah. Scott and I went out, did part of it.
More left to do there, and then the blazing of the trails when we finally have them finalized and approved and instructed where to blaze those. And I think some of the painting of the structures that remain, that is something that we need to talk about doing as well. So maybe a good project for likely early fall, I'm thinking, or might be for us to do. But yeah, it should be a good project, but those are the things we're on the hook to do.
Sounds
I think
good.
we also have to, the town, I think the highway department, we talked about the signage as well, and that's something we're going
Yep.
to be on the hook for either constructing and or paying from our own funds to finalize. But I think that I'm going by memory, but I think those are the parts of the grant that we were on the hook for.
Yep. Okay.
Mateo, you have your hand up?
I know during the site visit, Beth, when we were there, it looked like some of the blazes had been repainted. Bob, you were there. You were there as well. I wasn't sure, Scott, if you had gone out and done some blazing already or not.
Yeah, there's a variety of blazing that's been done over the years there. I think some by the club, some of them by local neighbors and others that have done some blazing, but it's not very consistent throughout. So that's something we're going to need to. I think in there we actually talked about repainting some of those blazes and then reblazing.
Yeah, I'm thinking in particular about the fact that Terra Moore is going to be rerouting some of those trails, so some of the blazes have to be obscured or removed, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, I think the area where it's going to be moved is the blazes are sort of red and they were very faded. Right up front, there were some nice white blazes that kind of get you through the beginning. But yeah, we'll have to look at all of that. All right.
Good.
I think that's it. I think that's it for tonight. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, second.
Seconded.
Great. All right. Fox,
Aye.
Douglas,
Hi.
McDuffie,
Aye.
Khan,
Aye.
Wilson. Aye. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Have a good night.
Thank you,
Yeah,
commissioners.
you
Good night.
too. See you in a couple weeks.